Hi everyone, this is Bobby from VN-Games.com, and we're doing our final review for the Nintendo Wii U. It's been a month since its release. It was released on November 18th, so a little over a month. And unlike the corporate conglomerate of paid reviewers whose salaries are based on their reviews, ours are not, we decided early on that we would take our time and make sure that the review was as thorough as possible, and done, after using the console for at least a month, get the ins and outs, experience what this console has to offer for the time being. And in front of you have the console. It's a gamepad, the Wii U gamepad. We also have some Wii accessories, the Wiimotes, a classic controller, Pro, not the new one. And then we have a series of games, not including the DLC games from the Nintendo eShop here that, the basic bundle right here of things that we've used and experienced here. So we're going to start off with the bad. Marco is here. Say hi.
Hello.
And Mike is here.
Sit.
And we're going to be going over a number of topics we've decided on talking about for this review. We're going to start off with the bad because there are a number of points we need to discuss. And then the good, which hopefully will outweigh it. And we'll give our final verdicts at the end. Personal verdicts. We're doing this review like we did the PlayStation Vita review. It's kind of a collective discussion on specific topics that we've kind of already decided on, and then at that point, we'll elaborate. So let's start off with the most immediate problem, the wireless problem with the Nintendo Wii U. Now, not all of you have encountered this, but there are a great number of you, including ourselves, who encountered an issue on launch day with the Wii U wireless not being able to connect with certain types of encryption. And, some people, I think they just can't connect, period, because they've had some faulty consoles. We've heard reports of that. But generally speaking, there was a whole workaround that had to be figured out in order to connect your console via the wireless link. Now, why is this something that we're griping about as a review? Well, the main problem with this is it doesn't come with an Ethernet port, and that doesn't make any sense. We've discussed this on our basically bullshit show and kind of elaborated a little further, but what it comes down to is I don't see any reason why this thing doesn't have an Ethernet port. It should have an Ethernet port, and for everyone who had problems with wireless, they could have just connected via the Ethernet cable. Now, we are aware that there's a Wii USB wireless adapter, but as we've discussed in the past, it's hard to find, it's expensive, and it's, that's really what it comes down to.
It's an additional cost that you really shouldn't have to take, considering the older consoles. Hell, even the slim PS2s came with it.
Yeah. So, what it comes down to is, why aren't you using an Ethernet cable? Wireless is great. If you have wireless, not everybody likes using wireless. Personally, I like to connect this to a Cat6 cable and have the maximum, speed possible, and not deal with, wireless issues, dealing with signal strength, distance, bandwidth restrictions if you are not using wireless N, for example, those sorts of things. Like I said, it's good for just basic operating procedure, but not ideal. Definitely not ideal.
So the LAN adapter wouldn't work either?
No, LAN adapter would be fine. I don't know if the LAN adapter is gigabit, but it is gigabit, so it's still faster than the wireless.
Well, the LAN adapter is $20.
Yeah.
So, but to spend that additional for a
you shouldn't have
new
to
grade
do that.
model, yeah. Like it's
How hard is it for them to manufacture the motherboard with an Ethernet port? Every standard computer out there comes with one. And
it's a modern console.
Yeah,
there's no excuse not to do it.
Nintendo might argue that wireless is the wave of the future. It is to some extent, but
no reason to cut it out yet. Who are they to make that decision?
And not for gaming.
Yeah,
not for gaming. Anyone who's serious about ping and their download speeds and everything else, they're going to use Ethernet.
Especially when they're touting this thing as
hardcore.
No, not even hardcore. They're touting it as a box that will replace everything in your living room.
Yeah.
Which it definitely will not, due to some of the restrictions we're going to be talking about today.
Yep. So, wireless is probably my biggest gripe with this entire thing. I mean, it has internet connectivity. I mean, I think we might be thankful that that it even has that, knowing Nintendo's track record. Hate to say it, but that's the truth. I mean, look at the GameCube. You know, look at the Ethernet adapter for that thing and how rare and how it wasn't used.
Ooh,
and
yeah.
then on the Wii, you could probably name the amount of games that actually used any internet content on one hand. And you can argue that the virtual the Wii virtual console or the Wii Nintendo Shop channel, whatever they call it, I can't remember exactly.
eShop.
eShop. Well, eShop is the new one. You could use it for that purpose, but even that's super slow. And I remember when the Wii launched, and that during those days, you know, getting it to connect and stay connected was a pain in the ass. And I found the same issue trying to download from the Virtual Console emulated, which we'll get into a little bit after. So, from a wireless perspective, it's nice that it has it. It's nice that it connects to wireless LAN at the very least, and it will connect to pretty much every standard encryption type. But you have to do a pretty serious workaround in most respects. And Marco actually made a video about that, which we're at 4,000 hits as of this recording, and that's just growing exponentially as Christmas Day has passed and people are
receiving their gifts.
So that just shows you how serious it is.
Yeah, it's not like it's a small issue.
And I guess the final point to mention that this wouldn't be such a sticking idea if it wasn't for the fact that this is the only way to connect the console without trying to find that LAN adapter.
Which is not easy to find.
Which is not easy to find. It's $20 extra, and if you're not a working adult, if you're 14, 12, whatever, you don't have that extra $20 to spend just to get this thing connected to the internet. And the fact that all of the main features have to be downloaded via a gigantic firmware update, it just compounds the issue. So what it comes down to is Nintendo is giving you a box that can't connect to the net, or at least a large percentage of you, including us, without having to find a workaround that requires you to have a PC and some technical knowledge. Because I mean, our video guide will guide you through the process, but you know,
for everyday people who maybe don't think to look these things up, it will really be kind of complicated.
Yeah.
Or even impossible, really, sadly.
Yeah. So it's a big issue. It's a major issue, and hopefully Nintendo's next batch of consoles fixes this problem. So far as I know, the firmware update has not resolved the issue, and I haven't changed the wireless settings, so I don't plan on changing that.
No, in fact, we tried it again for the video after the update, and it changed not a thing. It still had that issue. Yeah, so I wanted to be sure of that before I made the video, or else I would have brought up the point.
Yeah.
But so far, it looks like with the current update, unless the new batch ships with an update that is different than the one that is currently available, it is still an issue. And it can manifest, like I do say in the video, it can manifest as a large number of error codes. So if you guys are having any issues with that, definitely do go check out the video. And if you have any additional issues, just bring up a side note here. I've had a lot of people messaging us, asking us in their particular case if the video doesn't help them, what they should do. And like I stated in the video, please don't contact us. We have no clue. I posted up the video only because I know that it would have helped myself, and it's great for those of you that it has helped. But if it doesn't help you, then contact Nintendo, because we really can't help you there.
And you'll have to contact Nintendo customer service. But our video, I'll post a link to it. If you're watching this on YouTube, I'll post a link on the bottom. If not, you can see that video on bn-games.com. Moving on. So we did, I kind of touched on the firmware thing. So currently, as of launch, there's a giant firmware update required to enable a ton of online features, and also every single game that you purchase
so far has
a patch, and it takes forever to download. Now, that firmware update, we don't have an exact size. There's been some reported sizes that range anywhere from 500 megabytes to 5 gigabytes. And, you know, there are multiple scenarios, possibly when they were manufactured, so we can't say for sure. But the reality is you have a giant firmware patch that needs to be installed before you can do anything, which, like I said, compounds the wireless issue. And, you know, on top of that, the thing that we were getting reports on and we posted on the site is most people don't understand what firmware is, and how important it is not to mess with that.
Yeah.
So people were downloading it, or in partial download or partial install, unplugging the console because either they wanted to get back to the Wii menu to play whatever game they had, or they thought it was frozen for whatever reason, and they ended up breaking their console because of that. Now, part of that problem is on the customers. Part of that is customers' fault. I mean, there's a certain level of technical knowledge you should have before using certain electronics.
It's not like it doesn't give you a warning. It definitely does make it very clear.
Don't
do
console.
not tamper with the system while this update is going on. It's very important, and you can do some additional damage. So obviously, you do have to have some discrepancies there as far as the users go.
Yep, but the other factor is. This should have been updated on the consoles. There should have been there was an argument. This discussion's really been, really phased out. Nintendo's argument is they would have had to manufacture the consoles later instead of sooner, so that had the proper update for everything it needs. Personal opinion, they should have.
They should have done that.
They should have waited.
Yeah, they should have waited.
And not had to have every single Wii U customer, be it the basic model or the premium model, which I should state that's what we have here, have to do this update. It doesn't matter.
Well,
who you
with the caveat being if you can get online to begin with. It's a compounding issue that keeps adding up. It was actually to the point where a lot of the major site publishers like.
IGN.
IGN, Kotaku, for example, were posting up, and Nintendo actually posted this up on their Facebook as a suggestion for anyone buying a Wii U for their loved ones or whoever they were getting it for
the holidays,
to run the system firmware update before gifting it to them.
Yeah, so open up a console.
Go ahead and open up this console and do a system update that's going to take a couple of hours, depending on your internet speed, of course. And go ahead and get that set up so that when they open it up, they don't have a dead console if you guys can get online.
Yep.
To begin with. So that's backwards.
These issues are just kind of stacking on top of each other. This leads to another issue. And I hate to say it at this point, there's still a number of items we need to discuss that are problematic or issues we found. Is the capacity size. Now you have two models. You have the basic model, which is $299, and it comes with 8GB internal flash memory, and then you have the premium bundle, which comes in black and comes with 32GB of storage, and a couple extra goodies like the charging cradle, which, by the way, is a very nice thing.
Intelligently designed.
Yes.
It works very well.
And it is a $50 it's a $50 increase, so you pay $350 for the premium bundle. If we were going to suggest buying any bundle, it would be the premium bundle, just for the simple fact that you're paying for the extra the extra space. That's what it comes down to.
Space, accessory, and video game.
Oh yeah, and you get Nintendo Land.
This scary.
Yeah, then Nintendo Land sells on its own for $59.99. Yep. That game requires its own review, but I'll make a real quick note. It should not cost $59.99.
No, not at all.
It's a $30 game.
It's about a $30 game.
$30 game.
Yeah.
But you get it for free. Well, I guess you could say to some extent. The way I like to think
of
it gets packed in with.
But the way I put it is, the way I like to think of it is, people who pay for their Apple products, they pay a lot more for extra memory for their iPods and iPhones. And 32 gig versus 8 gig is a dramatic increase.
Well, not only that, the way it realistically works out is you're usually paying about $100 more for double the memory. In this case, you're only paying $50 more. You're getting 4 times the memory. You're getting a game. You're getting accessories, and additionally, you're getting access to exclusive programs for the actual online portion of the system. So in itself, it's the equivalent of buying the game and getting everything else. Why would you buy the game separately when you can get this package for $10 less and get everything else included? Yep. It makes absolutely no sense.
And to some extent, I think Nintendo's probably making more money on the basic models if you really break down the math.
Yeah.
So if you're going to buy one, I would say save the extra $50 at the very minimum, so you get
You get the complete package, complete experience.
Yeah.
So that you won't have to spend $60 on Nintendo Land by itself, which it is totally not worth. And you'll have something that you can play. It's a great tech demo for the system. It is.
Yeah.
It works much better if you obviously have Wiimotes and friends, because if not, then it's kind of boring.
Wiimotes and Wii Motion Plus in some
Wii
instances.
Motion Plus. Yes.
Which all these particular Wiimotes you see here are the Motion Plus enabled.
Yes.
They're built in, so they don't have the weird dongle attached.
So that leads me to a bit of a side note. I do believe that Nintendo should have focused on bringing out only one SKU, personally. I would have been fine if there was 2 colors at launch. That's no problem, but I really think they should have focused on just bringing out the $349 bundle, which we have here.
Yep.
I personally believe, I mean, people can disagree here, but I personally believe that making one system, we probably would have had a bigger launch as far as availability, and they probably would have been able to do it while getting a little bit more money.
Yep. But that's still 32 gigabytes versus 8. It sounds great, and it is, but
it's 32 gigabytes in reality is such a small amount.
I mean, let's put it in perspective. What is the lowest PlayStation 3, Xbox 360? It's 120, 160 gig.
Well, they're coming out with 20
PS3?
gigabyte models now.
Yeah,
PS3 at its low point was 20 gigs.
but
The
I
Xbox
mean,
had none when it first came out.
I'm saying
Currently,
currently,
4 gig for Xbox.
4
Yeah.
gig for Xbox and
And then
120, 160.
100, no. Well, at its newest model now is 250.
Well, you could still get 160 models realistically.
Left over.
I mean,
So anywhere from 120 and up. Let's put it like that.
and those are modern consoles. The Wii U is planting itself, and Nintendo's planting the Wii U as a modern console, quote unquote. 32 gigabytes, when you consider that these games are on what we understand to be an equivalent of a Blu-ray disc, these games can range anywhere from 4 gigabytes to 10, 12, 14, 16 gigabytes in size. You can buy practically every game on the Nintendo eShop digitally. I mean, that's 1, maybe 2 games if you're lucky, not including the operating system. The operating system itself weighs in at 4 to 5 gigabytes. And when you consider that the basic model is only 8 gigabytes, you don't have enough space left to play any or download any games.
Do you know the on average of what size a game would be
No.
when you download it?
No, let's put it
Well,
this way.
it really depends too.
No.
What we currently have let's be honest, aren't real full-fledged games. They're all mini games, if you will. They're all,
No, you can. I'm talking about the ones.
No, I'm speaking
talking
of-
about the full-fledged ones you can download.
Yeah.
That's what I'm saying. Most of the ones that we've downloaded so far.
Oh, what we've downloaded.
Yeah,
Yes.
what we've downloaded so far has been small games. We haven't downloaded any full games themselves.
There's a caveat though. When you go to download these games on the eShop, if you go, because obviously did the research, it very specifically says if you have the basic bundle, you cannot download these full titles like Zombie U, Super Mario Brothers U, whatever.
Yeah.
If you don't have an external hard drive connected. It very clearly states that before you try to buy the game.
So pretty much what's going to come down to is if, let's say you buy Ninja Gaiden, for example.
Yeah.
You're going to designate one flash drive maybe, since it is expandable to a flash drive as well.
Yes.
And then take that out. It's going to become
That or,
pretty much a cartridge. That's what it's going to come
that's
down
actually
to.
a really good way to think
And
about
in
it.
some ways, I'm sure they knew that because let's be honest, 8 gigabyte flash drives are dirt cheap these days.
About $8.
That doesn't
$10.
justify it. I'm not justifying it in any way. I still disagree and think that they should have gone with a bigger hard drive or an actual hard drive rather than flash storage because let's be honest, we know flash storage is much more expensive.
And it's obviously not giving it any...
It's not giving it any speed
performance,
boost because
yeah.
the OS...
we'll get into that
the
next
OS
part.
could use a little help.
So, what it comes down to is if you have the basic bundle, you're limiting yourself in many, many ways.
Oh, yeah.
And if you were to think about it, when you are on the basic bundle, that means you can't download the full-fledged games, which may not be an issue for everyone, and probably not a lot, but it's still limited availability. And what if Nintendo decides to release a game that, or let's say a publisher decides to release a game, they don't want to release it on disc. They make more money off the eShop through digital distribution, and they say you can only download this title through which is happening. Some games they're not too large, like the Mighty Force or Nano Assault. You can't buy those on disc. Imagine those games were like, say, the full size of like Mass Effect. There's no way, that if you're on a basic bundle, you're going to get to play that. So you're automatically you're cutting yourself from being able to download those games unless you have an external driver source,
which is an additional cost, and that additional cost ends up adding up to the 32 gigabyte system.
And on top of that, if you have let's say not even a flash drive, let's say you get an external hard drive, you have to get a self-powered external hard drive. You can't plug in, let's say, like a Western Digital Passport that is USB powered. It will automatically give you an error message when you try to download the data onto that drive. It has to be a powered drive, like pointing.
So I'm assuming you tried your Western Digital on the...
Nope.
No, because it just gives.
He has a Passport, doesn't he?
I
Mark has a
have
Passport.
a Toshiba. I think it's called it's a Scorpio. I believe.
Yeah.
But basically
something
a Passport, though.
Yeah,
Yeah, it's essentially that.
and
Yeah.
that will not work.
You suck.
So you're limiting your options and turning it into a Frankenstein machine. On top of that, having to plug all this extra stuff into a console that generally is pretty slick visually. I mean, it's got a very minimalistic look, and then you got this hard drive, whatever you got, connected to it, and wires sticking out the back of it on top
Some
of
duct
everything
tape
else.
to keep it all nice and snug.
And then you get people who are really OCD and have to buy black hard drives
Black
or
hard
a
drive.
white one
Oh,
if they have
Mike,
the 8.
he has to buy a red one.
Everyone's got to be red.
Hey, you got against that, man.
So storage is an issue logistically and practically.
So, as far as that, just to close up this little section, our suggestion to you people that don't know any better, and I don't mean this in any derogatory or inflammatory or any negative way at all, I'm just trying to be as blunt as I can be here. For any one of you who are planning to get this for anyone you know, and maybe you don't know about the systems and you're trying to be cheap,
And you want to save money?
yeah, don't be cheap. If, you can only afford a $300 system, then give it to the person and have them pay the $50 extra to get the premium package, because ultimately you're doing a disservice to them.
And to yourself.
And to yourself.
Yeah, and this just goes for, grandparents or parents or, sisters or siblings or whatever that maybe don't know any better. Just do yourself that favor.
So another thing we're going to go into, we kind of discussed that the flash memory is faster. I mean, flash memory is faster than any kind of standard
Mechanical drive.
But the Wii U is not taking advantage of that, but not yet at least. The operating system is extremely slow. For me, I don't think it's a big issue, but it is something where people think the system is freezing and it takes 20-30 seconds to go between things. It takes forever to get from one point to another. I mean, they have a purposely built loading screen when you start a game that pops up. So let's say I put Zombie U into the console and I hit the start button. There's a splash screen that comes up with some audio, and you just sit and wait until it decides to finish. Until it finishes itself. Finishes loading. So, it's not a major issue, but it becomes really tedious to go between things. And then there's certain programs like, let's say, Miiverse, which is another thing we'll discuss in a minute here, where do I really want to spend a minute waiting to get into Miiverse and wait for things to load? Sometimes compounded by the issue that the wireless is slower than a wired connection. So these things just kind of compound themselves. It's something that Nintendo, Iwata has already apologized for through the Nintendo Direct, only in Japan actually, and it's something that they're apparently working on, something that should be optimized. There are theories behind this, since Nintendo has not released a official spec sheet for the hardware. It could very well be that the CPU is slow, although this console has a lot more memory than the PS3 and Xbox 360, a lot more RAM. There's, I think, a gigabyte dedicated to the OS.
To the OS itself.
I mean, that's incredible, and that's why a lot of things work well once it's loaded. But the loading process just takes forever, and it's hard for anyone to know for sure why. But Personally, I think it's just...
I've also read a lot of theories, and keep in mind these are all theories and speculations.
Yes.
I've also read a lot of theories that the whole system was originally developed on the Wii hardware,
Yep.
and that it's scaling up to this. So it's a lot of code that was compiled for an older system, and maybe it's not optimized for the system, which is why they're fairly confident in actually addressing it, where most companies wouldn't bother to address it unless they have some sort of resolution to it. So it's very possible that it was developed on maybe a Wii or something more powerful than a Wii, but obviously now that it's come to this, it's not taking advantage of the hardware, and that could be an issue. And that could also, in all honesty, apply to the games. You know, we're seeing 10 to 15 second wait times before the games load up. 2 years from now, that might not be the case, and you might pop in Zombie U. It might take a second or two. Maybe they'll get rid of the loading screens altogether and it'll just go straight into the game. Who knows? But at this point in time, this is how things stand.
Yeah, and we haven't noticed any slowdown when it comes to using any of the software or the games once things are loaded. I mean, it seems everything's pretty seamless. It's just the initial boot up that seems to take forever in every instance. Be it going to Netflix, be it going to Miiverse, be it loading a game. It takes forever, but once you're in it, it works perfectly fine, flawlessly, in pretty much every instance. I haven't encountered anything, and I've spent a lot of time going through multiple applications, and it's a minor thing compared to everything else we've discussed at this point. We're kind of going into the lower end spectrum here. Speaking of Miiverse, now Miiverse is a great idea, and we'll kind of expand on why it's a great idea in the good section of this, but in the bad section, I think we need to note that Miiverse has some extreme censorship, and my personal feeling on Miiverse is, personally I'm not going to use it anymore, because I know Nintendo's not going to change these things, but Nintendo should develop something or have a system in place that says, I'm an adult, I verify that somehow with a credit card, with an ID, something. And then my account is flagged as I'm an adult, I want to see adult content, and then automatically Miiverse, if I post something that says this is adult content only, children can't see it, and only adults can. Because personally, I don't want to be interacting with children anyway. There should be an option like that. So if I want to draw boobs, I should be able to do this.
Mike should be able to draw all the penises he wants, and not be discriminated for it.
Yeah. The hell?
And they can be black and red.
I agree. I'm okay with this.
Same time.
Black and ginger. I'm okay.
And, these options, I mean, and we're taking it to an extreme, but I should be able to, write something. If I want to use any kind of curse words, I should be able to do that if I give the option, or if I say very specifically, I flag it. I'm an adult. I like adult humor, and I'm not a child. Don't treat me like a child. Don't moderate the post. Put it out there. And, I'll deal with the consequences if something offensive is out there. That should be there. Because you're having an open environment. Because not everyone's a child on this thing. On Miiverse. Miiverse as an idea, generally speaking, is a great idea. But the way Nintendo's handling it right now is not adult friendly. And we'll get into the better part as we go on. This was something that Marco wanted to talk about. There's no SPDIF audio out.
Yeah, and like we said, we are gradually going into lower and lower points. I personally have an issue with this not having a SPDIF out. Now, it's great that it has HDMI out. That's great. Modern consoles should have HDMI out. Most people will be handling HDMI for both video and audio. But in all honesty, anyone that's any kind of a real audiophile, anyone who wants any kind of a real audio setup is going to want to connect SPDIF, if not, HDMI. Especially people with older receivers who don't want to upgrade because they like their old systems, are going to want SPDIF. So that's something that kind of bothers me. It could have been something very simple to include, along with, I don't know, maybe an Ethernet port.
Yeah. So moving on, SPDIF, that's disappointing.
Yeah.
There is no GameCube support. This is a big thing for me. The console will do Wii emulation, but it will not support the GameCube. And this is an issue on multiple levels. So number one, I'd like to play my GameCube library. There's a number of GameCube games that I prefer. I mean, I have a bigger GameCube library than a Wii library, and of course I can play it on my Wii, but I'm supposed to be replacing my Wii with the Wii U technically, so it should be able to support that. And if you're emulating the Wii, you should be able to emulate the GameCube. I don't see any reason for this. This also means that the GameCube controller and the famous Wavebird is not supported. This is a big issue when it comes to Virtual Console. So the Virtual Console still resides on this as an option through the Wii emulation. You can play you can play the emulated games through the Wii emulation. So you emulate while you emulate. Yeah, and you know, the GameCube was a viable control option in most instances for that, for a lot of those games, especially Nintendo 64 games. The problem is now we're limited to this controller, the Classic Controller Pro, or the Classic Controller, whichever one you have. It does not support gamepad, so the Wii emulation on no level will support the gamepad. In fact, the gamepad shuts itself off once you go into the Wii mode. You have to use Wiimotes or the Classic Controller for those games. And all of us know it's not ideal for many games, especially the Nintendo 64 library. And personally, I'm not a big fan of the Classic Controller Pro either. It's kind of stiff, I think. It's not an ideal replacement. Thankfully, some people out there have modded the Wiimote to connect certain types of controllers with the bottom end, the same kind of connector that the Classic Controller.
The nunchuck and the Classic Controller use.
And there's Super Nintendo variants and other things that you can use, some of which I have on the way here because I don't want to use a Classic Controller Pro. It's kind of sad that I have to go to that extent, you know, to get that kind of get the controller to work.
The other real sad part is obviously if the community can do it, then why can't Nintendo do it? You know, if Nintendo wanted to make money, they could easily have some sort of wireless implementation where they have the end that is on these controllers, wirelessly attach and convert either the currently existing Wavebirds, or hell, sell a completely new Wavebird. It's not like they don't do it with the Wii's anyways. They still sell the GameCube controller as you know, as a replacement for this, but I want an actual GameCube controller solution that will work on the Wii U, and currently there is none. And if anything, that would be a cost. That would be a way for Nintendo to make money.
Yep.
No, and it would keep everyone else happy. You know, either come up with a solution that introduces a new controller that takes care of the issue. They have the molds. There shouldn't be an issue with that. And third-party developers are doing it already, or come up with a solution where I can use my currently existing GameCube controller or Wavebird so that I can do it anyways, and then I'm sure they would make a lot more money on that. I'd be willing to pay $15 for an adapter that would allow me to do that.
Just recreate the Wavebird with the USB dongle, done.
Well,
because that Wavebird was a beautiful controller.
That would be acceptable.
That would be acceptable, but I want it to happen, and I don't want a third party to do it. I want Nintendo to do it, because Nintendo knows what they're doing, and obviously they have all the patents and they have everything set up.
Well, as of right now, do you really think Nintendo knows what they're doing?
They do. I genuinely think they do.
Just don't want to do it.
I think they're getting the right idea. I just don't think they're implementing and thinking far ahead enough.
The other thing we need to consider here is there are, and these are rumors as of this video, that Nintendo is going to release GameCube games virtually. That is the reason why it doesn't support the disc.
That would be a perfect situation for them. And this is obviously, this is with us having no sort of indication.
It's all speculation at this point.
Or anything of the sort that this is going to happen, or that they haven't released any news for GameCube controllers. I don't put it past them to do it. I really believe that they will do it eventually.
Yeah.
I just want it, and I want to know soon.
Yeah.
And I want to know that it's doable. And if I have to resort to a third party to get it done, then too bad, Nintendo. You know, don't go bitching, don't go crying. Don't go trying to sue people when they're trying to fill a void that you guys can clearly fill.
Yeah.
And you're not taking the time to do so.
Earthbound. Moving on.
I want Earthbound.
Next thing, which is a general, I think general consensus here, is the Wii U does not support optical discs. And that means Blu-rays, DVDs, VCDs, CDs,
vinyl.
Yes.
Yeah, we still play vinyl.
It does not support your basic DVD format. And the problem with this is Nintendo has sort of positioned itself as a media home entertainment replacement.
They want this box. They've claimed that this box is going to replace everything in your home.
Yes, I mean that's what Nintendo TV is for.
Yeah, but it's not doing that at all.
It supports Netflix, Amazon Prime, Hulu.
It's getting me halfway there until I decide I don't need Blu-rays and DVDs, which guess what, I still do.
And the thing about Netflix and Amazon, for example, let's take me as a clear-cut example. I'm probably going to be getting rid of Netflix soon because Netflix as a service is not updating content regularly enough for me to want to continue to pay for the service. That means if I shut down that, if I were to decide not to go with Amazon, which Amazon's pretty close to Netflix, or if not better in some instances, I'm not going to have those options. I automatically cut this console as a media hub. Hulu is terrible in general. Sorry, Mike, it's terrible. If I have to pay, if I pay for a service,
let me pay money and get all these extra ads.
Well, wait a minute. I use Hulu specifically for TV shows.
Yeah, but
half those TV shows don't show up on Netflix.
Okay,
it's still terrible.
Do you or do you not still have to sit through commercials?
There are commercials.
Okay. I don't have to sit through that in Netflix.
Yeah.
Oh.
I'm
just saying.
General consensus is terrible.
Yeah.
And I'm not going to go with that service. So automatically you've cut 3 of those services. I personally don't have digital satellite because I don't really want that.
Okay.
So what I'm saying is, in multiple scenarios, that content, let's say we don't want to pay for the services or don't have the services, automatically get cut. And we can't use optical media. Let's say I go to Best Buy and I buy a bunch of $5 Blu-rays. Maybe I want to see Uncle Buck in 1080p. Why can't I do it on my Wii U? No, that's why I have a PlayStation 3. So Nintendo automatically, from an entertainment console perspective, cuts itself off. And currently, there's no way to stream media to it. Not an easy way. You can do it from the browser. I know there's a workaround, but there's no media.
There's no native application to do so.
So I can't stream stuff on my main computer or a hard drive to it. It doesn't even have a media player. It doesn't have like a dedicated music player or something of that nature. Like say if I want to, download any kind of music files or something. So as a media device, it falls flat on its face completely, in my opinion, because it lacks the options and just basic DVD support. If you don't want to do Blu-ray, if Nintendo doesn't want to pay the licensing fees or deal with the streaming issues, the HDMI, HDCP issues. Okay, I can understand that, but it should at least have DVD playback by this point. Japan had a GameCube that had DVD playback. We did not get a GameCube or Wii that did that.
Yeah.
And hackers knew that they could do it and plugged it in via their hacks and had their Wiis playing DVDs. So
and it was less than a megabyte hack. That was the saddest part.
So this functionality is completely possible, and we know that the Wii U discs are a proprietary format that is very similar to Blu-ray, and the storage capacity is similar. It's very easy to add these other things. There's no reason for it.
Especially with all the talks of the next Xbox having Blu-ray, and just on a similar note, for $100 less, you can pick up a PS3, which not only does what this does. Has Blu-ray, CD, DVD playback, and additionally has a lot of content like MLB and all the sports stuff.
Media Hub, so you can stream from your computer incredibly well, might I add. Bobby and myself are big advocates of that, and we do that regularly. I can replace the hard. I can go to my local Best Buy, Fry's, wherever. Say, you know what? I want to put a terabyte hard drive in my PS3. I'm going to do that today. Buy one and stick it in with almost no hassle. I need one screwdriver.
If Bobby wants to stick it in, you should be able to stick it in. Goddammit!
It's ridiculous. And as a console that is touting itself as a hardcore modern console, this is a problem.
It's getting beaten by a 6-year-old console.
Yes.
Which is cheaper, can do everything that it can do, and is definitely a good replacement for a media home theater system.
And there's absolutely no proof, and this is something we should make mention, there's absolutely no proof that the Wii U is more powerful than the PS3 or Xbox 360. In fact, some developers have said contrary that is not the case. It does have more RAM though. That at least they put moving on. Next thing, battery life for the controller.
Yeah,
It's
that's-
pretty terrible.
That's obviously 3 hours isn't bad. Like
When you first before the battery is still in good life.
Yeah, when the battery's still in good life. But as you go on, you're gonna leave this thing charging. If you have the charging cradle, it's easy enough to just leave it there. This battery life is eventually gonna go to shit.
So there's a couple of problems with this. I mean, okay, if the battery life has to be 3 hours, which I know Nyko is creating an accessory which makes it
Which we're gonna purchase
yes.
the instant it comes out because
10
it
hours.
definitely needs it.
10-hour extension. Let's just say we've used this, let's say a year from now. Let's say it's a bad battery. You cannot buy a replacement pad. They do not sell them. They do not exist. You cannot buy a replacement Wii U pad. Period.
What you in turn would do is return the whole dang system and get a brand new one.
How?
If warranty.
How?
I mean,
That's-
with such
that's
with such a
big.
shortage, yeah.
Well,
That's the
we
thing.
would even that leads into other issues with the Nintendo Network ID, which we'll get
Yeah.
into next. So the battery's terrible, and you know, it does a lot. I mean, the controller itself, which we'll kind of go into, you know, the good section. We're still going bad. Is great, but the battery life is a big problem. And you know, Nintendo's philosophy is you should get up every 15 minutes or 30 minutes to go stretch your arms
Yeah,
and
and
breathe.
then set this thing up to charge. That's not gonna happen.
And not all of us-
Nintendo, you wanted to market this for a hardcore audience. This is the hardcore audience that would stay up hours on end trying to beat Final Fantasies on your system. This is not gonna happen. Let's be honest.
I haven't seen sunlight in a year.
The sun, it burns.
So
Hence the reason when he sparkles when he goes outside.
yes, there's a problem with the battery in general, and the fact that we can't replace the battery easily, buy battery replacements easily, or at the very least, replace this pad easily. And from what I understand, they were saying that if you were to try to replace it, they were touting a possible price of $150.
Yeah.
Which is ridiculous.
You know,
I get that most of the costs probably went into the gamepad.
Yeah.
And it is great, and we'll talk about why it's great in the good section, which we're coming up to. I think we're almost there.
yeah, we're almost there.
But 3 hour battery life, I mean, I personally, I would have been, I think as a bare minimum 5 would have been the magical number for me.
Yep.
5.
Five would have been decent. I mean, considering
would've
that
been
it's got a big, you know, it's got a big screen in the middle that has to,
And-
and the speakers.
And again, these are all things that I truly believe could have been fixed or addressed or given some alternative to had they taken more time to develop.
yeah,
Had this thing come out in January or even December, which, you know, is a month from now. A month is enough time for them to do something to change some of these things. You know, give it a proper update, have the update on there, take care of the Wi-Fi issue, which is still the number one issue that we have with this thing.
yeah.
Everything else is kind of sort of nitpicking at this point.
So, leading into it, as far as the Nintendo Network is concerned, this is a big issue right now also, and especially for someone, well like us. So, currently we only have one Wii U. Michael will get one eventually. And
Once they fix all the problems.
and Marco will get one. But let's say we'll take the PS3 for example. Marco will come over and he'll say, "Well, I'm going to play so and so game on my PS3," and you know, and then after he's done playing, he saves his save to the cloud, which by the way this thing does not have. And then he can download that save to his PS3 at home and continue playing. Or he can log in with his account and then whatever online stats, so let's say it's a persistent game that saves the stats online, takes care of everything in that realm. All of these things are modern network things that the Xbox 360 does, the PS3 does, the PC does. The Nintendo Wii U does not do any of these things. Now Nintendo has set up a network, which is great. Finally has a proper network. You have a login, and it connects your eShop purchases to this login, and will connect to your Club Nintendo account, so you can get really crappy things for coins, or really good things that they run out of really quickly, like the Golden Nunchuck, for example. These things are all pluses, and it also gets around having to use friend codes which were and still remain an issue with DS and the original Wii and everything else. It's great that these things are in place. Problem is, currently, as of this point in time, you cannot transfer your network account from one Wii U to another. So if Marco had a Wii U and had his network account, he could not log into my Wii U with his network. And let's say he moved in as a roommate and he wanted to download his purchases that he had purchased on one console. He has no way of doing that. In fact, if your Wii U dies right now, that's it. Those purchases are with that account that are tied to that console. This is a major problem for anyone who spends a lot of money, and I'm one of those people. I mean, on my PS3 alone, since launch till now, I don't know how much money it's been spent on, mini games and DLC and everything else. And the Wii U has DLC, and it has its mini games, and it has the full-fledged games, which we've already kind of discussed. These things are available, but it is unacceptable that if I lose this console, want to sell the console, want to trade the console for, let's say, a better one down the line, let's say for Mike, Mario Red Special Edition.
With and silver.
And say I wanted to buy
50th anniversary.
And switch over. There's no way to switch console activations, anything that the other modern consoles will do. Or what Steam does for the PC platform, which is better, in all honesty, between all of them. This is a major problem. This is a major problem for adults. A major problem for anyone who wants to take this console seriously. And I should preface this, I do take this console seriously, but it has some problems that Nintendo, in general,
needs to take care of.
Needs to address, needs to acknowledge, and bear in mind when you watch this video. Obviously, we're talking about the console a month after launch, November 18th. Today is December 29th. It's a little after.
It's a month and 11 days after. And we've been playing the hell out of it.
Yeah.
So it's not like the initial. It's not like the initial reviews, which might not have had the full firmware, or the ones that did have it, but maybe they had to rush everything because they were trying to get it out before launch. No, we've played it. We've seen all the problems it has. We have played the games. We've had multiple people play the games and tell us. We've had people of multiple ages play the games and tell us. So we have probably a better idea of what the problems are and what can be done to fix it. And hopefully they will be addressed and make this a much better system, and one that's better as time goes on.
Yeah. So generally speaking, the network ID, the network needs to be taken seriously just based on the fact that, hey, you're positioning yourself as a modern console, but you're doing last generation sorts of things, and Nintendo's trying to play catch up, and these are things that should have been ironed out. As we said before, a number of times already, they should have postponed the release until maybe next year, maybe March. Let's say March. That was maybe an additional 6 months of time, and really iron this stuff out. Start maybe manufacturing January, so you get your first batch of consoles.
But obviously they were pushing for a holiday release.
Yeah, they were pressing.
Well, see,
hard
that's another thing that bothers me. They were pushing for a holiday release, but this wasn't a Wii.
Yeah.
2005.
And there's no marketing for it either.
Exactly. That's what I'm saying. It was no Wii. 2000. Well, when did the Wii launch? 2005, I believe.
2006.
2006. Okay. 2006 Christmas time. You asked 10 random people on the street, do you know what the Wii is? Probably 8 out of 10 of them would have told you, yes, I do. My kids want it. I want it. I want to get it for my wife. I want to get it for my daughter. Whatever. 8 out of 10. Now, they've made absolutely no push. The push that you're seeing is now closer to Christmas time. Now, I've actually seen it on TV a couple of times, but
there's no buzz for it.
There's no buzz for it.
Unless you're in the industry, or unless you follow all the mass media, be it Game Informer or IGN or all your major platforms, or if you consider yourself hardcore on some level. I mean, unless you're in the know on some level through some kind of media hub, if you're just a regular soccer moms have no idea, generally speaking.
And then the other thing is localization issues. So you have, you're hearing us being on the internet all day long. We hear about people walking into nowhere, Alabama, for example,
Yeah.
and they're finding hundreds of these things in their local Walmarts and Targets and what have you. And us living here in a metropolitan area, biggest area probably in the U.S., one of the biggest areas,
Yeah.
we're finding very few. Obviously now, this is changing a month down the line, but back when it launched, you could find none. We actually tried to find one the day before, and we got lucky that we found one the day of launch.
Yeah.
That we were able to get, and
At the last minute.
at the very last minute, after being told exactly a week before, and I was with Mike when this happened, that the particular place where we were going to get it was going to get a shipment of 0 because their shipment had been canceled by Nintendo. Last minute, I get a call the morning of, which I actually had to work, and I immediately called Bobby. He threw he threw a towel on and drove to Santa Monica so that we could make sure we had it for launch day.
30 miles from here.
Yes. So that shouldn't happen. There's definitely an issue with them sending amounts and maybe not prioritizing. Obviously, that's not an issue now. You're probably going to be able to find it a lot easier now.
Yeah.
But they're definitely not doing what they should be doing. They should be marketing the hell out of this thing, or should have marketed the hell out of this thing. They should have sent it to the major areas that needed it primarily, and then focus on secondary markets. But I don't know what they're playing at. They finally start to get things right, and then they fuck it all up by doing stupid stuff like this.
We should mention one thing, and this is a big one for me, is Region Locked. Obviously, we have a show called Region Locked, which deals with games that...
Nice plug, Bobby.
Yeah! Plugs. And at least in those situations, it's a little easy to get to. There's, for example, Monster Hunter was already released in Japan. It's not going to be released here until March. What if I wanted to get the Japanese version? What if I didn't care about the story and I just wanted to kill monsters?
How dare you try and get Nintendo Japan money?
What if I was wanting to spend $110 for Monster Hunter, so I can get it imported?
$110. I'd spend a lot more than that.
But I digress. It's region locked. The pad itself is region locked. You cannot import games. Nintendo used to be really good about leaving their consoles unlocked. You can download games. I mean, not download. Buy games from other regions, like on the DS. That would be a clear example. But this console is region locked, and that's a big problem for me, who likes to play stuff that is not released here, because some games would not make sense for them to release them here. And personally, I'm not looking forward to paying $500 for a Japanese Wii U that has almost all the same games, with an exception of one or two, unless they only release Star Fox 64 or Star Fox 64 remake in Japan. I would smash this thing.
That would be a big middle finger, wouldn't it?
Yes, it would.
It's the greatest game of all time.
No Star Fox for America.
It is the most
Japan
in-depth
only.
space simulator. It is Star Fox Wii U.
Like they did with Star Fox 2, which
Star Fox U.
They just anyway.
Star Fox Universe.
Star Fox U.
Damn, I'm good at this.
So
Super Mario Universe.
Region locking the console it really sucks. It really sucks, and there really shouldn't be any reason to do that. I mean, if I want to import something, I should be able to import it and play it on the hardware, because it is exactly the same. There's no difference whatsoever, with the exception of the PAL territories. PAL. That's just because they're weird.
Pal, you're weird.
Sorry, you are. I don't get your hertz difference. I don't understand why your refresh rate is lower. It doesn't make sense.
59 hertz. No, it's 50.
50. And we have 60.
Then you get 10 less frames per second.
I can't even plug it into the TV and make it work right. So, it's kind of a pain. But regardless, it's a problem. And
the Vita is region unlocked.
The PS3.
Yeah. Region
It's region
unlocked.
unlocked. The 360, nobody cares about the 360.
The 360 is actually region unlocked. It's up to the developer to lock the game.
Yeah, but what? Nobody in Japan likes the 360, so that doesn't matter.
I'm just using it because there people I'll use a real clear example for 360. What was it? It was the DC versus Marvel. No, DC versus.
No, Mortal Kombat versus DC.
Mortal Kombat versus DC. Like, for example,
Australia. Was it an Australia thing?
No, us too. Our game was censored when the Joker would would use his finisher. He would shoot someone in the head.
Yeah, he would actually shoot him, but ours was a bang.
Yeah, and then you'd have to buy it from another region, which people were doing, and they were purposely leaving it unlocked, region unlocked, so you could play that version, and there was no difference other than it wasn't censored. So that kind of stuff, you know, that's government intervention there. But still, it sucks. It really sucks, and that's a problem for someone like me who doesn't mind paying import fees for games that are worth it. You know, because I do that for the PS2, I do it for the PS3, and the 360 has nothing I want. So
go Sony, pro Sony. Want to see the tap right here? No.
So we've pretty much gotten over everything. The price point, just a minor thing. It's not a competitive price point. I know Nintendo has this thing about launching their hardware and not launching at a loss. In fact, I think the 3DS is the first that they've had to do that for. Unlike Sony, who released their console at a loss to build a market for the PS3 and I believe the PS2 as well. Nintendo doesn't believe in that philosophy, so they release at a price point where they still remain profitable, and for every console sold, or at least money back on some level, and pricing this console with just the things we've talked about at $350, you know, when, as we said, you can buy a PS3 or 360, whatever your preference.
For about $150 less or so.
Is, you know, and calling yourself a modern console when it is generally comparable to current generation consoles, and with the advent of the PS4 and Xbox 720 or whatever their final names will be. Pardon the interruption.
Pardon the interruption. So yeah, one of the things is for the price point, just based on the whole system. There's really not a killer app that makes the whole system worth buying just for that. So I mean, just looking into that. Unfortunately, that would be one of the biggest issues where with a lot of the older systems you had a game that was definitely worth it. There's not one in particular here that we could recommend enough just to buy the system if you're not convinced on everything else. That's not to say that these games here are bad or that any of the launch games are bad. They're, in fact, pretty good. I'd say this is one of the better lineups for a launch system. There's just not one particular killer app that makes it all really worthwhile just for that.
You don't have your Halo for your Xbox, your Uncharted for your PS3.
Yeah, nothing like that.
So really no exclusive, really.
Nothing really worth writing home about.
This is kind of exclusive.
Well, Mario's always
So
been
is Zombie
exclusive.
So is this.
Well, Zombie
So is that.
Yeah.
And they tried making exclusive Batman by doing their Armored Edition.
Which is a bad
trying to have it a redeeming quality with Ninja Gaiden.
Assassin's Creed.
Assassin's Creed.
Yeah.
Assassin's Creed, yeah.
I think we've really exhausted the bad points. I mean, that's what the first half of this video is about. Now we're going to go into the good points, and we're going to try to point out as much as we can. Now, I want to preface this with the fact that we do like the console, and we are rooting for it. We need to get the stuff out that Nintendo needs to take care of.
Everything that we pointed out in the bad is stuff we want fixed so that
Cough, cough.
it is a better system. We're not just saying it as elitists or fanboys in any way. We're saying it because there are problems that we really believe should be fixed or should be addressed in some way.
Yes.
You know, we get that maybe some of the things we were talking about might be, you know, nitpicks, like the SPDIF issue, for example. But the Wi-Fi issue, just off the top of my head, would be the number one thing that I think really needs to be addressed.
And this thing needs an Ethernet port. Period.
Yeah.
Get on it.
Even if it means that they have to lose $20 or whatever amount it is, and they have to bundle the damn.
That's why I still think they didn't put the Ethernet port in it to begin with. They still wanted to use a dang LAN adapter.
Yeah, but that's a cost you shouldn't have to do.
Exactly.
Or
just throw it in, there's a
or if
bundle,
it is,
fine.
throw it in for free.
Yeah.
Really, it's ridiculous.
It doesn't cost that much to manufacture in the first place.
I know
Michael
that.
makes a dang thing. I mean,
Well,
come on.
obviously, you do have to keep in mind that even if it is a penny, it is a penny times whatever amount they manufacture. But they still should include
Factor it in the cost of the console.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, on to the good. So, as we started to talk about, the launch lineup, which, generally speaking, was fairly strong.
Yeah.
We have these 4 games and 2 DLC games. Number of games were not so strong, you know, and I wasn't going to buy them. For example, Tank 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 is $50. We played Tank 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 in the arcade.
Which is a much better experience.
Much better experience, but I wasn't going to pay $50 for it. I'd rather pay $50 on the arcade cabinet.
Yeah.
Yeah, pretty much. There's no force feedback. I got a problem.
Yeah, you need the rumble seat. Yeah, the force feedback.
You have to have the giant vertical TV. which is like totally really high quality.
Yep.
It's
And
just, there's something about it.
we're not gonna
Yeah,
buy.
that's Valley Top right there.
We're not gonna buy ports to games we've already played or are better on other systems such as Batman, Mass Effect, Assassin's Creed. All of those
Ninja
are.
Gaiden.
No, Ninja Gaiden
Ninja Gaiden was a
an
redeeming-
exception.
Was it?
Ninja Gaiden
It
is
was a
actually
redeeming
the Ninja Gaiden Team Ninja even admitted that this is the version that they released for the Wii U, with the exception of the performance issues, is the one that they should have released on the PS3 and the Xbox 360. And I wouldn't doubt if a special edition comes out that matches it. But all the other ones were poor ports, poor frame rate issues, playable, but you can get the same experience better on a different platform. And if you're playing Mass Effect, I think at this point it'd be best to play it on the PC. It's just personal preference. But overall, I mean, Zombie U is a great game. That game has a following and a group of people who hate it. I think Zombie U in general has the fan base for Zombie U understand that it's survival horror. It's not an action game, although the trailers really kind of misled people to some extent.
Yeah.
And it is, it's very similar in survival concepts to something like Dark Souls or Demon Souls, where it's a survival game. You really have to plan things out. It's a fairly short game, and you know, some of the concepts are a little shallow, but it is a much better release title than let's say Red Steel, which was a horrible piece of crap. I actually really like the new Super Mario Bros. U. Pretty much played through most of it.
I need to pass it.
It is a much better game actually overall than the Wii New Super Mario Brothers Wii.
New Super Mario Brothers.
Wii. Yeah,
The Wii version.
Yeah, that one is it's not a bad game, but you can tell that they took more time with this game, and it generally speaking, it's the courses are more better thought out. It's just a better game in general.
Level design and polish is much higher.
And anti-aliasing is
immensely.
a godsend.
Yeah.
Nintendo Land, as we've discussed earlier, is would be decent at a $30 game if it wasn't a pack-in. As a pack-in, it's fairly decent. It's one of those things where you'll probably play through the things once or twice, and you'll say, okay, well, I get what the gamepad's doing. I get what these games are capable of. I get the fact that it's an HD because you'll very likely be using this on HDMI, and you'll get an idea of what the Wii U can do versus the Wii. For all intents and purposes, so it's a decent tech demo, as we've said. But for $60, if you didn't buy the deluxe version of the Wii U, totally not worth it. And the real surprise here, although it's on multiple consoles, is definitely Sonic All-Stars Racing Transform. It's a really bad title, but
bonus edition.
it is the cheapest bonus edition. It is the cheapest Wii U game you can buy, and one of the best.
Absolutely.
You can also get this on other platforms, Xbox 360 and PS3 and the Vita. The Vita version is pretty good. But the Wii U version has a 5-player mode, which is unique to the console. That's a minor thing. But overall, if you're looking for a Wii U game and you want to play your Wii U, I believe the game is $30, $40, versus the rest of the games here are $59.99, and it is really worth it. Especially if you're a Mario Kart fan, you're probably, especially if you're a Mario Kart fanboy and saying, "Oh no, it's Sonic and it's not Mario Kart; it's trying to beat Mario Kart." It is a very good alternative.
Would this be a redeeming idea in terms of Diddy Kong Racing?
Absolutely.
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 Yeah.
Diddy
It was
Kong.
the same concept.
I don't care what anyone says, and I've had people message me
Yep.
telling me that we're wrong and Diddy Kong Racing is great. No.
Diddy
You
Kong.
obviously have not gone back and to actually play Diddy Kong Racing. Mario Kart 64 holds up.
Yes.
Hell yeah.
Mario Kart 64 more than holds up. It's great. It's got a great sense of speed. That is what this has.
Yep. Yeah. No,
Sonic, I think the greatest thing it can do is give you a really good sense of speed
and drifting.
Oh yeah.
And
there's a lot. Let's be honest. There's a lot of characters.
There's a lot of characters.
There's a lot of courses.
Yep.
The courses are all very
Terrain
unique.
changes.
There's the mirrored. Obviously, you can easily double a course by mirroring it, but there's just a lot.
Yeah, and for the price tag, And in fact, I think it launched at that price tag, which
Yeah,
is really
it
the
did.
surprising
Yeah, it started
part.
launched at 40.
So, if you were buying a Wii U, I think personal thing, Super Mario Brothers Super Mario Brothers U, sorry, and Sonic All Stars.
Yeah.
If you were going to have to buy 2 games for this console at launch,
Those would be our 2 recommendations.
right now, which is available.
And that could be interchanged with Zombie U as well.
Zombie U is not
U
for everybody.
Is not for everybody.
But it will bring out the Mexican in you, I tell you.
Yes, it will. There are at some points it will genuinely scare the shit out of you.
Yes.
Not because it has pop out moments, if that makes any sense, but because you'll lower your guard at the wrong time and will underestimate the abilities of the zombies.
And put yourself in the situation.
If
more
you
than anything.
think this is Call of Duty and you can Call of Duty the game and just go in shooting, I would like to see you try and fail miserably, because you cannot play the game like that.
This,
Sorry.
for everyone who's, and especially critics, for every critic that has complained that Capcom has gone away from Resident Evil, those people are the people I say this game is targeted towards. The people who really had that sense of the controls, not so much lacking, but you're not an overpowered and you don't have greater abilities.
You're not Leon.
Yeah. You're not extending yourself beyond human reality here.
Yeah.
It is a game where you really have to be careful, really think about your surroundings, be careful in your surroundings. It is survival horror. That's what it is.
It's got a very good pacing.
And it doesn't look too bad. It's definitely not. It is definitely not the system's best selling point. I wouldn't say play Zombie U to see what this system can do for me.
Play Zombie U if you have a Wii U.
Yeah.
If you're interested in the concept, it is a great concept. But the biggest selling point, I would agree, would be Sonic and Mario.
Yeah, Sonic because it's cheaper and it's a great game. I mean, just the price point alone. And then Mario because, well, hey, it's a Nintendo system and it is probably the best Mario since, I will say, the new Super Mario Brothers, which came out on the DS. Because everything else since that point has been, I didn't like Galaxy, but
Galaxy actually gave me a
You
headache
mean
for
Super
some
Mario
reason.
Universe?
Universe, that'll be for this one. So, launch lineup's pretty strong. HDMI support, 1080p
That's
support.
cool. Included HDMI cable, which is something we're not seeing very often here.
Yes.
In a world where you're getting just your basic cables, your PS3 you buy now, you're only getting standard RCA and that's about it. This came with RCA and HDMI cables, which is nice. It's nice to see more systems obviously trying to give you a complete package so that when you do take it out of the box, it is ready to go. Point given, for example, the Wii did include batteries. That was really nice.
Yeah.
And obviously all the systems are starting to hopefully go back to that style of giving you everything. Even if it means paying a little bit more, obviously you get a complete system.
Yeah, and another nice touch is that it will use your existing Wii setup for whatever reason. Say you don't have a TV that will do HDMI. One nice point is my particular TV, for recording purposes, we have to use component as of this video right now, and it will use standard component Wii cable. So you can still get 720p, 1080p on the component. If you don't have HDMI, or if you're doing the recording through, let's say, the Hotpog, or haven't tested yet, but let's say the Elgato, if you're going to do something of that, you can do that.
Well, pretty much, it's all you're doing is replacing the system. You can pretty much use everything.
That
else.
is true, because it uses the same sensor bar.
Power source still the same?
No, actually, the power source
Bigger.
is different. It is
the
much
connection
larger.
is bigger on this,
Yeah.
on the actual Wii U.
Okay, so you're swapping
That's
the power
probably
source
the-
and system.
that's
about
Everything
it.
else works.
That is a good point to bring up, where if you have a Wii, don't go running and get rid of all your accessories, because you're
Gonna need
pretty
'em.
much going to need them.
The Wiimotes automatically are necessary for anything that's going to use, if you're going to do any Wii emulation.
For example, Nintendo Land, if you plan to play it with anyone other than yourself, and have a full experience, you're going to need a Wiimote.
And for those that are out there, people like to come up and they like to ask if the Wiimotes are compatible with the Wii U.
Yes.
Yes, sir.
I get that a lot.
Yes, they absolutely are.
Now, and I know we kind of mentioned this, just kind of delve into it. It will do Wii emulation, so practically every Wii game you own is playable. The caveat is it has to go into a special Wii emulation software. It doesn't get any kind of performance boost. You don't have any emulation options like on the PS3. You can turn on smoothing and those sorts of things. You don't get any of those options, but it will upscale to your TV's resolution and aspect ratio. So those are nice things, nice touches. We did a whole series of practically every Wii game I own. We've already done on the website and on the YouTube channel, so you can see what it looks like.
Probably the most recognizable or important ones that we've gotten requested at least.
Skyward Sword, Xenoblade Chronicles, the Last Story, and Super Smash Bros. Brawl.
Yeah.
And another thing I need to mention, Super Smash Bros. Brawl, a game that used the GameCube controller as its primary, well, for anyone who was serious about it. Unfortunately, you're stuck to either Wiimote Nunchuck, or the classic controller, and none of these are ideal. I need to put that out there. I know we're in the good section, but that's something to really put out there. Yeah, going from a GameCube controller to the classic controller, Pro or classic controller, it is like having one of your legs cut off. That's what it felt like.
Slapping on a prosthetic and then trying to walk again.
It is awkward. Even after remapping everything, it's not the same. We did talk about Miiverse as a censorship issue, but Miiverse as a general idea is a great idea, and it's unique to the Wii U. There's nothing wrong with just turning on the console and watching all these little doodles that people do, pictures and drawings using the gamepad, and these really, I mean, some of the stuff that people are doing, it's amazing.
Very impressive. Very impressive.
And it's also really showcases why the screen is resistive instead of capacitive. Really comes down to the stylus works better than the Wii. It's also cheaper for manufacturing purposes.
Really wish you could save those pictures though. Some of them are really good, man.
Well, yeah.
I would, yeah, man.
You add people as friends, and then you can see their feed. So if you want to see them again.
Yeah, but no, I want to put on my phone.
Wow.
Good. It's like, hey, nice background.
There's
Mike,
trademark infringement.
This is
Hey,
that's where Nintendo's gonna have their mic department. We've discussed this before. There are features that you want that only you want.
Yeah.
As we mentioned, even though this is a double-edged sword, the memory is expandable via hard drive up to 3 terabytes using a powered USB hard drive. Also, on the Wii's virtual side, you can use an SD memory card on the front of the console, which will expand the memory very specifically for the Wii portion, but not for the Wii U storage. So,
also, don't forget the flash drive. You can use flash drives
You can use flash drives as well. Not ideal. I would say if you're going to do it right just by a powered USB hard drive. The eShop is actually very nice and very thought out. In fact, I personally think it resembles the iPhone App Store on the iPhone or iPad. It has a very similar feel and look. It works. It's pretty fast as far as navigation.
Once it loads up.
Playing trailers is pretty. It's nice. It does everything.
Inline.
Yeah.
Trailer playing, right?
Yeah.
I like that a lot.
Everything about it is someone really took the time and thought out how it's gonna work, and it's great. I would like. There's a caveat, like I said, all your emulation, your virtual console purchases can only be done on the Wii side, which is annoying if you want to just use the Wii U side and not have to go on the Wii side, because that requires a Wiimote. Absolutely requires a Wiimote.
Just comes to show that someone actually was thinking at the time.
To some extent.
Yeah.
But for all your Wii U related content, pretty good. It has a excellent web browser. We've done a video to show you how it compares to the PS3 and Xbox 360. Obviously not a PC, because that wouldn't be fair. And the Wii U browser, for the most part, has held up in almost every regard. Is faster, loads everything for the most part correctly. Doesn't support Flash
Yet.
Yeah, that's true. We don't know if that's going to get fixed.
What the deal is with
but
that.
anything HTML5, most of your websites will load with almost no issue, and it's fast. It works.
It smokes.
I also believe the 360 doesn't support Flash either.
I'm not sure.
Not that we could tell.
No.
Because when I was trying to go on, the site to watch videos,
That's true.
it didn't work.
Yeah, that's right.
So
And
I
that
couldn't
didn't
read
work.
the article. So I was like, oh.
what it's just good all around. In fact, I think it performs better. My brother and mother both got tablets recently, both Android tablets. She got the Amazon
Kindle.
Kindle Fire,
Kindle Fire,
HD.
and Tim got the Samsung Tab 2.0.
The Samsung
Two.
Galaxy Tab 2 7
Yeah.
inch.
And both of them have separate web browsers because Amazon uses its proprietary system. And the Wii U browser on the console, I believe, is better than both of them. Speed and everything else. wise.
Usability.
Well, technically, you are putting tablet, and tablet. So I mean,
Yeah, well, this has
So to speak.
this has a gigabyte of system RAM that I'm sure helps it immensely.
Yes. And also something for me that I thought was a nice touch that I really, really like initially because I was playing with it. It has tabs.
Okay.
You can do tabs, and that's a
I still don't know how you didn't see that initially.
no. No, it wasn't that. It was just the fact that it's there.
Yeah.
It's something that is missing from a lot of other things.
Yeah.
And it's a feature that's greatly underappreciated. I think by
tabs instead of opening new windows.
Yeah.
Tabs.
Yeah.
Yes.
and like I said, we did a video about that, and that if you don't have a computer, it's totally viable as a
Web browser.
for most things. The controller itself, which is the whole point of the Wii U, really in general, it's an excellent device. It's one of those things that you have to feel and use to believe. It does take a little getting used to. We are using a skin, by the way. It doesn't come with this blue skin. This
Yeah.
should mention that maybe about an hour ago.
Should have mentioned that when we started the video.
But
This was something that we got as a protective, which is really nice. You can find this. This is actually an officially licensed
Nintendo
product, which is really nice. So, as you can see there, very nice.
yes, and it works great. It's dual analog. Marco actually played with one of the prototypes at E3 2 years ago,
Yeah.
and they were using thumb nubs similar to the 3DS, which would have probably wouldn't work.
We've actually, me and Tim have actually had discussions as to whether we believe it was definitely heavier.
Yeah.
And we don't know whether it was the fact that they were tied down to the people that were
At the
hosting
show. Yeah.
it, because obviously it did have a lock system so that you couldn't run off. You had to be strong enough to hold this and carry a 120-pound girl.
Well, that's not.
That would have been a nice thing. Like, hey, I got a girl with my Wii U tablet. No,
Prototype.
but yeah. So I don't know if what was adding weight was the security device, but it definitely did not feel as light. I mean, obviously it's got a really good weight to it.
Yep.
My only really good weight, really good feel. It doesn't feel cheaply made.
No, not well, except for the buttons kind of rattle. There's a little bit of rattling.
Yeah, which apparently someone took care of. There's a couple videos online showing you how to take care of that, which we're going to look into ourselves.
Like I said, it's a little disorienting, and Mike would be a clear example of this. Someone who has trouble differentiating looking at the TV and then looking at the tablet, because
gosh darn it, I like portability.
there's practically almost no latency when you're playing games on the tablet screen versus the TV screen. Now the tablet screen is not it's not a really super high resolution.
No, in fact, it's about 480, 480p,
yeah,
if anything.
Which is good enough if you're. I mean, it really. You might have seen the commercials or any kind of media where you see someone playing a game on the tablet, and then someone else has changed the channel on the TV, and you can continue playing. That is entirely possible in most games, but that's an optional.
I
thing.
have a theory. I have this theory that when you do that for a game that's supported, it boosts the resolution on the pad. I've noticed that.
Entirely possible.
I have a theory so that when it's running with the game on the screen,
Yeah.
it's gonna have a lower resolution here. Why? That's more power efficient. Otherwise it would drain the battery down a lot more.
Yeah.
So I have this theory that when you switch it over, it does actually look a lot sharper on here, specifically for here. So games that support that switching function are Sonic and I believe
Mario. Yeah,
Mario
Mario.
does as well.
Yeah,
Zombie U does not,
not.
because obviously you need
All
the
menu
screen
items.
for the menu items, which looks great because it's simple items to draw. And Nintendo Land actually does show everything on there, but it's so bright and so colorful that you really don't notice any compression.
Nintendo Land also uses it for a lot of the mini games.
Now, I don't know if you agree here, just really quick, kind of a side subject. Do you agree that Nintendo Land visually looks the best as far as sharpness and colorfulness?
It's brightest, but I think Super Mario really kind of takes the cake because it's smoothest and everything is kind of in the right
As far as proper
order.
3D, I think Nintendo Land looks pretty good.
I'm not saying it doesn't.
Yeah.
No, I mean, it's got an over waxy thing.
Yeah, well, they're going for that look.
Personally, preference is Super Mario. If I were gonna go Super Mario Brothers U, just kind of, just overall I think is better. Although I'm not saying it's not impressive.
Yeah.
Also, it does have a headphone jack. One little slight minor complaint on my side is the volume is not very high.
No.
When you put headphones on, it works. But if you have someone who likes to put the TV really loud, you won't be hearing anything. Camera works really nicely. We have a video from Zombie U where you can, make yourself a zombie. And it also has facial recognition when creating a Mii, which Marco, even though in the videos have modified, it scarily, eerily made a representation of him, and he modified it. But he doesn't want to talk about that.
I don't want to talk about that.
And Mike as well, actually. Mike's the one that actually used the recognition the most.
It did give him red.
I didn't do the.
You didn't.
I didn't do zombie.
No, but I remember for
but
the
Mii,
yeah,
dude, that was dead on, man. I mean, I slightly modified it, but
it's kind of scary.
But it was
actually
good.
And I mean, overall, we complained about the battery life, but the triggers work really nicely. It's comfortable to hold.
It is comfortable. I have to say, surprised the hell out of me.
The thumbsticks, like I said, take a little getting used to, especially if you're on like a 360 or PS3. You're used to your thumbs being in certain places for certain games, and the controller is a lot larger looking than it initially seems until you've held it.
Even with the change of them, keep in mind that both of them, for the right trigger, you have your right hand. Right above it is where the buttons are.
Yeah.
So this is automatically going to disorient you. So I don't know how well... I've heard kind of mixed things about first-person shooters.
Yeah.
Just because the triggers... I mean, unfortunately, they're not pressure sensitive.
Yeah.
The back trigger...
Yeah, they're not.
Where
they're not
on both the 360 and the PS3, they are pressure sensitive. They aren't here, so that does affect it. And then obviously, running around and doing stuff, for example, in first-person shooters won't be as fluid because you're used to your thumb moving up rather than down. So
my thing is more how wide it is. The width.
I
really
kind of got over that pretty quickly.
I still kind of feel that a little.
Yeah,
bit.
it's still a little disorienting with some stuff.
It takes some getting used to. Once you use it, it's not a problem. But don't
kind of become second nature.
Don't expect to get into Mario and start thinking you're going to be flying through courses immediately because you're gonna be thrown off. And the D-pad's pretty good, although not as good as the PS3. Certainly better than the 360 controller. Even their special twisty
the
version.
rotating, protruding D-pad.
If they put a fighting game on it, it would be serviceable. I think that's the way to put it. I guess one of the biggest things for me as far as positives is there is a Super Smash Brothers confirmed for this, for the Wii U and the 3DS. They're supposed to be interchangeable on some level. If that really plays out, I don't know. And that's being done by the Tekken team, developers of that. We've yet to see what that looks like and how that's going to pan out, but it's certainly a reason to own the system.
Earthbound!
For me, personally, I want Star Fox more than anything, and Miyamoto has been on the record that he wants a Metroid and Star Fox for this system. That's positive for me.
I think Metroid would work incredibly well.
Yes,
obviously,
especially all the scanning stuff.
Yeah, all the
Zombie
Zombie
really showed that. And last but not least, I mean, it has a Nintendo feel. I think overall, when I use it, when I turn it on, I don't think the Wii ever had that. When I turned the Wii on, it felt really alien, and it was not. It was its own device, and it didn't give me that Nintendo fizz. I guess James May would call it a fizz in Top Gear. That's the only way I can really compare it. And when I turn the Wii U on, when you get to the Wii area and you see all the drawings, from Miiverse, and you start playing Mario, which really is Super Super Mario Bros. 3 and Super Mario World really mixed in together, you really get that sense. You know, there's a lot going for this thing. The eShop channel music is great, by the way. I did a cover for it that's on the channel with the guitar. I mean, that's how much I liked it. So it has a Nintendo feel that I approve of and appreciate. Something that the Wii was really lacking. Yeah, even the GameCube had it, I think, to some extent. I really haven't felt a Nintendo. I haven't had this Nintendo fizz since the Nintendo 64. I think that was the last time it really kind of rang true. Overall, with all the things we listed that are bad, which is much longer because we have to give reasons for them.
Yeah.
I would still say if you're interested, it's definitely worth getting. I think there's a large lineup of games that are going to be worth purchasing, and it's going to be worth your time, it's worth your money. But overall, I mean, it's even with the price point, even with the issues we've talked about that Nintendo, for the most part, can clearly iron out. Most of them can be cleared out with software, software updates and patches. I fully believe that this console will succeed, even though it's not as powerful as the next gen consoles will be, because Nintendo will create Nintendo software that doesn't require, super mega,
It doesn't require powerful systems. Why it's got that ingenuity behind it.
Yes, I mean, I think Super Mario Bros. U really shows that they took a Wii game, they cleaned it up, they put some power behind it, they made it work in proper 1080p, which is what practically every TV now runs on. So, the graphic fidelity is up a scratch, at least from that perspective. And they've proven that their concepts will work in this, and Nintendo's always done that. I mean, look at the 3DS; it's not as powerful as the Vita, for example.
It sells a hell of a lot better.
Sells
3DS would sell more,
and their games, for the most part, they work.
Vita's overpriced.
Hardware power is not everything in this situation. But that being said, Nintendo is placing themselves in a situation that really make it hard for me to completely sell it, because I need to see them really fulfill those promises. And of all the things we talked about bad, that really are things that people need to know about before shelling out $350 or $300, whatever it is, during the initial.
Go for black.
The black actually looks really good too.
It does.
Yeah.
I think the white makes the system look cheap.
Fingerprint magnet, though.
Yeah.
Just as a side warning.
But like I said, it's one of those things where it has the potential. We've seen the light, we've seen the good, and we've seen the bad. And if Nintendo can get their shit straight, as far as the things we've talked about, some of them, like the LAN adapter, would have to be a new version. The SPDIF is probably never going to happen. No. Battery life will improve as the pad goes on. After our camera issues. Really what it comes down to, as I was really trying to say, is the game is worth, the console's worth your time, if you're a Nintendo fan, and it's already shown that it has a strong hand, and we believe in it. We just want Nintendo to fix the things we've already talked about. So this was a review for the Nintendo Wii U. It is $299 for the 8GB basic set, and
$349 for the premium
deluxe set, which is the one
set
you should get, really, at this point in time for this review. And as far as games are concerned, Super Mario Bros. U and Sonic All-Stars Racing Transformed are two basic best picks for the Wii U at this launch point. It's really where you should go. If you have any questions, comments, please leave them below. If you have any problems with your network connection, we have done a video for that. That is on the channel. And for anything else,
including gameplay videos for all four of these, and more gameplay from the Wii U, check out our channel.
Yes. So,
BN Games Reviews or bn-games.com.
Yes. So please subscribe and let us know what you think. Thank you.